Welcome everybody. We're doing this live stream, this podcast over here, talking about House of the Dragon, the best show of
Yep.
2022. Definitely. We're gonna talk today about some crazy fan theories, some of the stuff that is rather insane. We're gonna start at the top of the iceberg. So we're gonna start from a place of sanity and logic, and then slowly descend into madness, slowly but surely. And
hmm
yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about some theories about House of the Dragon. And we're not going to talk about Game of Thrones here because if we start talking about Game of Thrones, then it would be
I'm
here
gonna
like
be
the whole
stuck here
day.
for a year.
Like 8 seasons, so many theories, time travel bullshit. It's fucking insane.
Books.
So we're gonna, yeah, the books too are separate. So we're gonna talk about some of the theories that have inspired in House of the Dragon since we only have one season, even though we have some time skip. And let's see what the fans of the internet have come up with. So the first theory, let's start with the three first, are affair theories. We have Aemond and Helena. So as I said, like the theory behind it is that Aemond and Helena have an affair, and Aegon is married to
Mm.
Helena, but Helena's children are not his children. Helena's
Yeah.
children, Jaehaera and Jaehaerys, are actually Aemon's, not Aegon's. So they're technically bastards, Targaryen bastards, even though they don't look like it because obviously Aemond and Aegon are the same. So yeah, the proof behind this theory is that one, Aegon is an asshole. He's not faithful to Helena. He doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about their marriage. And two, Aegon is more faithful. He does love Helena more than Aegon does. And
Uh,
George has this thing where he often writes Targaryens fighting between themselves for their sister. Very fucked up, but it's the
yes.
Targaryen thing of doing the way of doing
Yeah.
things.
Uh huh.
Targaryens have a tendency of doing that, and yeah, like we're gonna talk about Blood and Cheese as well. Spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't know what this is, but Blood and Cheese in the books, it's gonna happen in the show too. Is where these two assassins infiltrate the Red Keep, and they force Helena to choose which of her sons is gonna die.
Yes.
So Jaehaerys and Maelor and stuff. And like the theory
Yep.
is that this is a son for a son, and this is revenge for Luke's death, which Aemond
Yep.
caused. Aemond killed
Mm.
Luke, so this is
Yes.
revenge
Yes.
for
Yes.
that.
It could be. It
Yeah,
could be because the thing is that her taking revenge on them on excuse me on Jaheira herself for something which she doesn't have any part with, because she didn't have any part in the Death of Lucerys. So if they were the kids of Aemon, then
it could make sense.
then there would be logic in that. Then there would be sense in that because she would say, "Ah, yes, I am making Aemon pay for what he did to my son."
Exactly. So the idea is that yeah, these are Aemon's children, and Daemon is actually taking a son for a son. You killed Rhaenyra's son. Now I'm going to kill one of your sons, either Jaehaerys or Maelor. And then Aegon doesn't know that this is their Aemon's children, because if Aegon knew, he'd go mad. It would also make the entire Green side look very, very bad. Like because now the whole argument is Rhaenyra cannot be queen because she has three bastards, and that would destabilize the realm. But now you also have bastards, so like it would
Yep.
make them look like hypocrites. At least from a moral
Mm,
point of view.
true, true, true.
So
I
there's
do. Yeah.
so this sapphire and spider theory, that's what it's called. It does have some logic behind it because it is possible for Aemond is shown to be closer to Helena. He cares for her more. There is that
Mm,
scene where Rhaenys threatens them with her dragon, and then Helena clings to Aemond as if him to
yes.
protect her.
Yep.
Definitely shown to be closer than Aegon ever is with Helena, but Aegon, kind of a douche. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Not
we talked
kind of.
about
Lot of a douche.
Yeah, we talked about Blood and Cheese, where Daemon sends assassins to kill the children. Doesn't make much sense because,
Uh,
like, when you think about a son for a son, is it's not like you're not killing Aemond or Daeron. That's not like what you're killing. You're killing in defenseless children who are like 6 years old.
yes. Yes. Yes.
But if
It's
they're
true.
Aemons, it actually makes sense because this is revenge against Aemon specifically. And you
Well.
think, well, how would Daemon know about this? Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. There are a lot of spies in the Red Keep, and we know that
Yes.
Mysaria, who is Daemon's sort of ally, sort of friend,
Sort of a
has spies
lover.
in the Red. Yeah, has spies in the Red Keep. So she would know from one of her spies, and she would tell Daemon, and then Daemon would organize this whole ordeal. There is also
Yes.
the fact that Helena throws herself from Maegor's Holdfast, from Maegor's Tower, the same day that Aemon dies. So when she gets news that Aemon is dead, she supposedly throws herself from the tower because she has no, her lover died or she has no reason to live or something like that, you know.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
theory does have some logic behind it.
Yeah, it does have some credence for it. It's an interesting theory, and it does make sense. But I do not think that it could be possible. I do not think that it can be done. Basically, that it could be done because as much as Aemon likes his sister, as much as he loves her for being for his sister, I do not think that he would take it that far. But with a man such as Aemon, you never know. So it's not out of the question. That's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to get at. Like I
yeah,
do not think that it happened, but it's not out of the question that it could have happened.
yeah. It's definitely a possibility, but it has some sense. It does make some sense when you think about the details. What happens, like the situation with Aegon being drunk. Like, you know, it's similar to Cersei. Cersei says, Robert comes to me when he's drunk, and I just put him to sleep because he doesn't have it in him, you know. So, you know, Aegon is always drunk. That's the meme running around. And when
Yes,
he isn't, like, he gets blamed for shit. Like, man, one time
yes.
when I'm drunk, shit happens. Like, come on.
You know, it would be an interesting theory
Yeah,
if Jaehaera and Jaehaerys were actually Daemon's nieces and niece.
yeah.
Considering
So
considering the theory that Daemon is the father of Aemon,
yeah, so that's actually the next thing we should
this,
talk about because
this
that's
would be this would be madness, honestly.
that would actually be madness if you think about it. So the second tier that's related to this is that Damon and Alicent had an affair, and Aemond is the result of that affair. So
Yeah,
Damon is Aemon's father. So the proof behind this theory is that one, you know, when Alicent talks to Rhaenyra in episode 4 in the Godhood, she says, because Damon wouldn't know any limits, would he? Like, she speaks as if she knows anything about Damon, even though
yeah.
she barely has any interaction with him. And then in
Hmm.
episode 6, she says, Viserys, having a child like that is a mistake. Having three is an insult. So she says a mistake, you know, like she knows something about that, like it can be forgiven, or like it's something.
Hmm.
It's not something. It's not even a mistake. Like, it's something you should never do. But
Yep.
she says it's a mistake, as if she knows something about that.
It's
So
it's something which you should avoid, basically.
yeah, and like you know, Aemon is very looks very similar to Daemon as well. So like you know, the idea is that Aemon is Daemon's son, and Alice and Daemon had an affair. And if that's the case, and
Hmm.
Daemon had an affair with Helena, Daemon is basically killing his own fucking nephew, like with all that blood and cheese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do not think that theory any two like these two theories. I don't think that they can be real. The first one could be, but the
Hmm.
second one I highly doubt it because the problem with that is the fact that you would expect Damon, because Damon, as bad as he may be, he still loves his family. He still loves his children. Now, when I say family, I mean close family. I mean,
Yeah,
look at the love. I mean, if you saw some of the deleted scenes, you know of the love that he bears for his daughters.
yeah.
Um,
They cut that
uh,
scene when he was comforting his daughters after their mother's death, like,
or
and they cut that scene.
or
No
you
reason.
know the love that he bears for Aegon and Viserys, his two sons.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Like Daemon, like the irony between Daemon and Viserys is that Viserys is a better person than Daemon, but Daemon is like a better father than he is. You know, like because you know being a good person doesn't always mean that you're a good king or a good father. Like it takes,
mm,
it's not the same. So Daemon, even though he's like a worse person than Viserys, like he's better at Viserys at some things. You know. And this is why
mm,
I'm sort of mad that they cut that scene where he's like comforting his daughters, because it's like, oh look, Daemon is an abusive husband. He's a bad father. He's like bad at everything, toxic masculinity. And I'm like, no, he's not like that terrible. Like he's not toxic masculinity. Like that's not what his character is, you know. But
yeah, yeah. I think that they did Damon kind of dirty in the show, and that they didn't give him the love that he deserves. I mean, they just made him boohoo, patriarchy,
toxic
edgy critique
masculinity.
of, yeah, 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 just the average Westoid point,
Yeah,
honestly.
Damon. There are other scenes as well. There's a scene where Damon goes in the ocean, like he's fighting against the waves, like he's starting to express his anger. You know, like,
Yep.
and they cut that scene also because Damon showing emotion is apparently a bad thing. I don't know.
Yes.
So anyway, like
Apparently it is so.
yeah, fuck it, I guess the writers they cut the whole relationship with him and Lena in one scene, which I complained about it often. I thought that his
Yeah.
relationship with Lena was very healthy for him. I think that Lena was a much
Yep.
better person than Rhaenyra, and like she understood Daemon. Like in that scene where they talk in Pantos, she's like, "Look, I know you love Rhaenyra." Like she says, "I know I'm not enough for you. I made my peace with that a long time ago, but I
It
still
gave them
expect
both more dimension.
I still expect you to be my husband, raise my children
Mhm.
in Driftmark, my home, and expect
Mhm.
you to be the man who I married." And I'm like, Lena is a boss, man. Like she has guts, Like I really liked Lena in that scene. She understood Damon, she understood him. She didn't hate him for it or anything. She just demanded things of him anyway, and that's very very healthy for him. Like, but they cut the
Yeah.
relationship down to one scene, so fuck it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad. It's a shame in reality because I think that the show writer should have gotten what should have done what George told them. But the problem is
Yeah,
that these people are so hungry for money that they avoid, and that being HBO, I mean, HBO is so hungry for money. They as long as they get their money, it doesn't matter to them how fast they get it or how slow they get it. Like, I mean, I believe fully that if they left the show, if they did the show justice in the same way that Martin intended it, we could have had way more theories. We could have had
with 13
way
episodes.
more theories which are possible. I
So
mean,
the whole Alicent
the show
Damon
would have been
affair,
better.
yeah. So Alicent and Damon have like such limited screen time together is actually insane. There are like two scenes where like one she gives him her favor during the tournament in episode one, which she had to,
Yes.
like he asked for it. You can't say no. And two,
Yeah.
there's that scene where him and Alicent and Rhaenyra they talk about Viserys who is sick, and they talk about how the high towers are covering the Targaryen art, Targaryen paintings in the Red Keep, and like
Mhm.
he's offended by it, and Alicent looks in fear, like or something, like she's worried about that. And then there's
Mhm.
episode 10 where Daemon's like, "Let Hightower bitch poison my brother." Like he says she poisoned Viserys, which is like a wild accusation to make. Like he knew Viserys was sick, but he makes the accusation anyway. So
Mhm.
the idea of a relationship between them is like implausible, but the idea of them having an affair like a one time is possible. Like that is something that could have happened.
It is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
It really is quite possible.
Yeah, and can you imagine though? Like Damon would do that just to fuck with Otto. Like I don't know. Like if Damon did that, he would definitely tell Otto Hightower, wouldn't he? Can you
Yes.
imagine Otto like
Yeah. I mean,
fuming?
he would. He would try to because yeah, that's actually a very good point. Actually, uh, he could have very well used that as a bragging point with Otto.
Yeah, like hey man,
He could have jokingly, like he could have jokingly made he could have made jokes about it basically, knowing Damon's character at least.
yeah, he makes fun of Otto's dead wife. He'd make fun of fucking his daughter because why not? It's Damon.
Yep. Uh huh.
Yeah, so but yeah, you think like Otto would be like fuming in that moment? He'd like go fucking mad, like if
Yeah, yeah.
something like that happened.
He went mad basically. Yeah, I mean, it would have been also
Unless like he
were it
doesn't
to be
know.
true.
If
Were it to be
Allison tells
true, I
him.
think that yeah, I think that if it would have happened, Otto would have known that something would have been up, but he wouldn't have had any idea that it was that bad.
Yeah. I mean, Aemond looking similar to Daemon is not like good enough to say that he is his son, because it is normal for nephews to look similar to their uncle. Like you have a brother,
Yep.
your son looks similar to your brother is totally normal, 100%.
Hmm.
So it's a Game of Thrones. Like George and his genes are not very consistent. Let's just say it like that. But
Yeah, genealogy.
George genes, that's the meme. But still, like you'd
Yeah, yeah.
expect, like yeah. I mean, we talk about the characters too. Like Alicent, this would
Yep.
ruin her character because she's all about being faithful, being moral. Not she's like supposed to be the opposite of Rhaenyra, but then it turns out she did the same thing as her, and she's like, well,
Mm.
doing it one time is a mistake. and I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it would be quite a contrast because the way how Rhaenyra treats the idea of her not being very loyal in her marriage, and the way how Alicent treats it are very different. So
Yeah.
yeah, it could be say it could be if it were to be true, it would be quite an interesting contrast.
And if
However, it would do Alicent's character. It would kind of
assassination,
basically
sniper rifle.
yeah, not per se assassination, but it would not be too good for her character. That's what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah.
basically.
And there's also the fact that if Aemond really is Daemon's son, like, wouldn't Daemon show some concern for him during the eye scene, like where he gets his eye cut? Because yeah, that's the thing. Like, maybe Daemon himself is not doesn't know or something. I don't know. It's not a plausible theory, but he would show some
It's not
concern in that scene
plausible.
if he knew. Like,
Were
if
it to be real, though, it would be very interesting. It would be quite interesting to see the relationships which would have developed. In
yeah,
any case, I don't think there's enough proof for it,
yeah, yeah,
and I don't think that it's suiting the characters. Like, I mean, what I mean, well, look, um, Damon would have done many things. Damon is not a perfect man, but I think that he would have cared for his son were to be
that,
his best, were Aemon to be his son. I
yeah,
mean, yes, yes, you may say, oh yeah, well he took care of his daughters just because they were his legitimate daughters, and who's to say that he would take care of his son if it was his bastard son? I say, but still he would care because Aemon, I mean Damon, as much as imperfect as he may be, he still loves his family a lot.
yeah.
Still
That's
has
like
a
his
lot of love for
redemption.
family.
That's his
Yeah.
redeeming quality.
Mm.
That's supposed to be his redeeming quality. So
Yes,
definitely,
which is why, even if it was true, I would feel like they were doing him dirty.
yeah, if it was true, then Damon should not know about it. Like, Alison wouldn't have told Damon or something like that. Like, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, Alison wouldn't have told him. So that's definitely it. Aside from that, like, it doesn't make much sense for a character. Like, the first year when Aemon and Helena have an affair, that makes some sense because it seems like they are close, like they love each other. And again, Targaryens have the thing with their sisters, like it happens with them. But Alicent and Daemon, like, they're complete polar opposites. And I know we say opposites attract, but do they? Do they actually attract? So yeah, this
No, I
one,
mean they do attract, but I don't think that it went to the level where they had a child. There may
yeah.
have been a time where Allison might have been into Damon, but no, I don't think they went
Yeah.
farther than that.
Yeah, there's like that one scene where Lena says, "You're dashing and strong and a knight and stuff. You're every young maiden's dream." And maybe when Alicent was like very young, she had like a phase where, oh, Damon looks hot, but never happened anything like that. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
make much sense as a theory, but whatever. So let's continue now with the big ones, like the ones that actually supposed to affect the plot. The
Mm.
Grand Maester conspiracy theory. So
Quite.
Maesters are supposed to be apolitical, but as we see in Game of Thrones, no one is apolitical, not even the King's Guard, so not even the Maesters.
Yep.
And there is this character in the book Dance of Dragons, Marwyn, who is like a bit of a psycho, a bit of crazy guy, but he says that Maesters killed all of the dragons the last time around because they hate
Mm.
magic, and dragons are closely connected to magic. So they were trying to like get rid of dragons because Targaryens were too powerful, and they wanted to get rid of magic. And we see that Maesters are willing to work against the Targaryens. For example, in the books, Grand Maester Pycelle tells King Aerys Targaryen to open the gates of King's Landing to Tywin Lannister, even though he
Mm.
knew that Tywin Lannister was planning to sack the city. Like, he knew that.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did that on
Of course.
purpose because he was loyal. He was actually loyal to the Lannisters. We don't know why he was loyal to the Lannisters. Maybe he just admired Tywin as a man. Maybe just
Yeah, I think it's mainly that because consider
uh,
what he speaks. There's this deleted scene where
I know
Tywin
that.
is fishing and Pycelle goes to show him, speaks to him of his appreciation for Tywin. So I think that yes, there's a high chance that that theory could be actually true.
Yeah,
That
there is actually a high
I
chance.
mean there's a high probability that the main reason why it made Pycelle chose the Lannisters was because the Lannisters are basically are good. Not to say that they're involved in the plot, but they are useful tools in the plot in the Grand Maester
Yeah,
conspiracy.
useful against Targaryens. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
useful against the Targaryens. Not only the Targaryens, but against anyone who seeks to bring magic back.
yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of this theory because the whole point of the Targaryens is that they are their own worst enemies. You know, you see it in the Dance of Dragons, you see this in the Blackfire Rebellions, you see this in Aerys Targaryen, like he's his own worst enemy. And you know, in the House of the Dragon, in the very first episode, in the very first 2 minutes, we have that scene where like King Jaehaer is like the only thing that can take down the House of the Dragon is itself. You know, like the
Well,
Targaryens are their own worst enemies. So I could see the Maesters being biased against the Targaryens. I could see the Maesters working with the Greens, with the High Tower side of the conflict too. But them organizing the whole thing, like the whole dance of dragons to kill all of the dragons, I think that's unlikely because it just it takes away the whole element, the passion of the story, the emotion, the whole idea
yes.
that Targaryens are their own worst enemies. You know?
Yeah. It's removing a lot of it's taking away a lot from the Targaryens. I get what you're trying to say, but I still think that it could be very much possible
Yeah,
due
yeah.
to the fact
That no one is able to.
that yeah, and yeah, not only that, but also the fact that the Targaryens themselves basically are somewhat incompetent in keeping their power without dragons. So yes, in a sense, the Targaryens themselves brought their own doom.
Yeah,
Not, so yeah, I mean, it's not that it's undoing Jaehaerys' warning in that the House of the Dragon can only be brought down by itself. It's more that it's just saying how it goes to show that the Targaryens, even though they are truly powerful and they are truly a great house, the other dragons, which were their main advantage, mm, they were unable to adapt.
unable to adapt. Yeah, yeah. The Targaryens. I saw this interesting post. Like the Targaryens' biggest flaw is that they never understood the culture that they conquered, and they are like, unwilling to adapt to Westeros. And like that's fine to an extent. You know, like you have to keep your
That
Valyrian heritage, like your Valyrian culture to some extent, but also you have to like adapt to the Westerosi culture because you're
yes,
simply outnumbered. You know, you're ruling over millions of people. They're not gonna
mm,
change themselves for you. You have to change yourself for them. That's how
yep.
that's how immigration works. Let's not get into the topic, but
I think that the problem with the Targaryens is that since the times of old Valyria, they knew the only means they knew of gaining power was through strength.
yeah,
But
war.
with their loss of dragons,
That
they
lost their
had
advantage.
to they had to uh, they had to know how to they had to learn how to use power in a more delicate manner and to be careful with where you use it and to play the Game of Thrones to really play it.
Yeah.
and and it's an interesting scenario where the Targaryens did not learn how to do that, and this is and I think that as a result of that, you could have seen basically what happened basically.
It's so basic. Like, yeah, I mean, we can blame the
And
Macers.
I apologize if I'm sounding incoherent here, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a conspiracy theory, man. These theories are not supposed to be coherent in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Let's abandon all logic when we enter here.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
sorry.
abandon. Let's listen to the guy in the books who's like known for being crazy and is like, Macers killed all the dragons last time. Yeah, uh,
I
let's
mean,
listen to
if
that guy.
you, it
This
could
theory
be
literally
possible.
starts from that one guy, and then like we try to connect the
Yeah.
dots, but you see, technically it is possible. Yeah, yeah. So we
Well,
should
well,
probably
I
not
still
listen.
think that I still think that George would not have put it there for no reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there might be some truth. We know that Macers don't like magic, and therefore they don't like dragons. That is
Yep.
definitely true. But the fact that they called it Fall of the Dragons, George always says that the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself. So that is
Yes.
the Targaryen struggle. You know, they are their own worst enemies. So if you take that
Yes.
away, then make it all a great conspiracy to kill all the dragons. You take away from that. Maesters could have definitely have played a role. Like maybe they were on the side of the high towers. They were on Team Green. You know,
Though
like
I think that they were playing mainly the political game, where they were basically worked as spies, because the thing is that every single lord trusts his maester to deliver his messages.
yeah, and
So
they can manipulate that.
practically speaking, the High Towers had the best. had one of the best spy systems in Westeros by the time of the. And now we're speaking by the time of the dance, or we're speaking by time of the Game of Thrones timeline.
Yeah,
The Game of Thrones time, because yeah, the High Towers are very powerful if you think about it, because their maesters just want to loyalty to them. I mean, but
they created
also
the High Towers created the Maesters in the first place.
yes, yes, and there's also the fact that each Maester has his own bias. Like
Yeah.
if you know in the books, there's what's his name, uh, one of the lords in the north, the Willis Manderley. Yes, Willis
Yes,
Manderley.
Mandela, yeah.
Willis Manderley speaks of his maester being a Lannister and saying how he has a bias. Now he's a Lannister of Lannisport, he says, but he still has loyalty to House Lannister.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility that maesters could have their own, like, prioritize the high towers and their own house they come from
Yeah,
more
it's interesting
than they
because
do prioritize their loyalty to their lord.
you
But
don't
that
know
is
like
dependent on the sort of man of the sort of maester we're speaking of.
yeah, because we don't know like the surnames of most of the Maesters that are in the series, you know? Like we don't know
Yep.
where do these guys come from, like which house do they come from?
Hmm.
If you're like from House Rain, you're not gonna be favor with the Lannisters, you know, and you're gonna like those guys.
I mean,
So
it's kind of like Maester Aemon. Like,
he's a
I mean,
Targaryen, yeah,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
nobody
He's a
knows about him.
Targaryen. Yep, but he is a Targaryen. But he's fully devoted to the wall, to the
Yeah,
watch,
yeah. So it's
and to the wall. So
the
yeah, it
Maesters.
depends on the sort of Maester we're speaking of, basically.
Yeah, the Maesters at the end of the day are also individuals with their own like
Hmm.
bias, even if they were trained in the Citadel. So not all Maesters are loyal to the High Towers, but some of them could be or are. And yeah, I don't think they manipulated the world into causing the Dance of Dragons. I don't think they caused it on purpose or they manipulated events. Because when you see the Dance of Dragons, it really happened because of Viserys, Otto, Alicent, Rhaenyra, Daemon. These are the five main players of the game in House of the Dragon. They're the ones who
Hmm.
drive the events forward, and they're the ones
Yep.
who kind of cause the dance. And then what happens during the dance? Like dragons are fighting dragons. It's not like Mazers had a say over that. You know, when dragons fight
Yes.
dragons. So I believe that they had a bias, but they didn't cause the civil war. They didn't kill the dragons because, well, it doesn't make much sense to me. Even though this theory could definitely, uh,
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see
look,
what.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. 10 years, I mean, over 10 years without a book has done horrible, horrible things for the Game of Thrones basically, Game of Thrones fans have been destroyed. Like, half of these theories, I suspect will be sheer, in the words of Tywin Lannister, madness,
Man,
madness and stupidity.
yeah, in a couple of years, like I remember seeing this shit post month where like the Game of Thrones fandom is basically like watching a car that can like drive. Like you can a vehicle that can go forward, doing vroom vroom. You know, like
Uh-huh.
it's stuck. The Game of Thrones fandom is literally stuck right now. And like House of the Dragon comes out, we're like happy about it. You know, it's cool. It brings the world of Westeros back to life. Yes, it's very fun. I like
Yes.
it. But the book, where's the book, man? Where's the story going? We don't know. And don't say
Yeah.
season 8. We know that did not happen. That does not exist. No, no, that does not exist. So we're gonna
Actually, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, there was this character. Yeah. Let's go to the next theory, though.
let's go into next years because
On
okay,
to
so
the next one.
this one is a bit more fun. Okay, so Larry Strong is a green seer trying to save King's Landing. The theory
uh,
goes like this. So Larry Strong is like the most
oh,
evil character in the show. Obviously,
uh-huh.
doesn't have a sense of morality or kinship, but
Yes.
so he is a green seer because he has the blood of the first man. How strong is descendant of the first man?
Yes.
They have a god to do, so he can see visions of the future, stuff like that, work into animals and stuff. And he saw a vision of the future where Daenerys Targaryen burns down King's Landing, and he now thinks that dragons are the evil because Targaryens have too much power with dragons, and he's trying to manipulate both sides into causing a civil war that will wipe out all of the dragons. And so like he's
Yes.
trying to be the hero of the story because he wants to get rid of dragons because he believes that dragons will burn down the King's Landing in the future. Like he
Yep.
has seen the vision of the future, and that's why
Yep.
he wants to kill all of the dragons. That's why he wants to cause the civil war. So, what do you think about hero Larry Strong, man? Like
I think
fighting
this
for the greater
theory.
good.
I think this theory is. I don't wanna. I don't wanna put it this way, but that's how I'm gonna put it. Batshit insane, but I want to believe in it. I
Balls
want to
to the
believe in it.
walls.
I want to believe in it, but it's batshit insane.
Bad
Now,
shit.
you know why I say that? Because first thing first, George himself has said that season 8 is not canon. The show itself is not canon, and 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 if House of the Dragon, the show, is meant to be canon, because that's what George himself has confirmed it himself.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
he said so. Yeah, so if House of the Dragon itself is canon and the show is not canon, then why would the writers, or at least the show writers, try to, when or at least why would George himself try to do that? Like that would be going against his own word.
Yeah, I mean, in, again, you brought up the fact that the book is not released. George has hinted on the fact that there will be a second Dance of Dragons in Game of Thrones, where dragons fight dragons, you know?
Yeah.
And it is possible that at least a part of King's Landing will burn down because of the
Yep.
dragons fighting each other. It is something that could happen.
Mhm.
So maybe Larry had like a vision of that, and he's like, "Oh shit, dragons will burn down King's Landing. They're too dangerous. I have to cause and manipulate both sides into fighting each other." But like,
Mhm.
think about it. Isn't Larry like doing what he saw in the vision? Like, isn't he causing the burn down of King's Landing in the first place? Because he's having
Yes.
dragons fight each other, and if dragons fight each other, then King's Landing is more likely to burn. Like, it's a tier
Mhm.
that literally fucks itself over because uh, like Larys is literally doing what he's
If
trying to avoid,
Larry's
you know?
if Larry's wants to avoid war, there are better ways of avoiding it.
If you like his idea is like dragons are dangerous, I have to cause a civil war between Targaryens and kill all of the dragons to save people. But wait a minute, aren't you going to kill a bunch of people by doing that, Larys? Ah, shit, man. I didn't think about that. No, hold on a minute. Dad, I'm sorry, man.
Mm.
This is actually the bad shit insane. This is like the darkness, man. This is like where the
Mhm.
darkness begins.
Yes.
So like the
Well,
first,
it's an interesting theory. I'll give you that.
yeah, I mean this makes the Grand Maester conspiracy theory look like kids job, you know?
Yep, yep, yep. And also, I do not think that's what Larry's would do, because Larry's is many things, but he's not a.
Good guy.
Let's just say, yeah, yeah, he's not a good guy. Like, if he would have done such a thing, he would purely do it for his own interests. That's what I think, at least.
What are his interests though? Assassin's Creed.
Power. Although none will come as close to none will come close to Peter Baelish, my beloved.
Yeah,
Peter Baelish is is my favorite ever guy. Like, I would say he's my favorite character. In any case,
you mean book
what I'm
or
trying to say, yeah, both book and show, I would say, actually. Although in the books he's more interesting.
yeah? I
But
mean,
yeah,
Larys is like the first guy who became Master of Whispers in the book. That's why he's called like a mysterious individual because he was the first to become Master of Whispers. He had like a network of spies, but he was very lonely. He had no friends, so people said like, "How the hell does he do that?" You know, someone doesn't have
yeah,
connections. How does he become a spy master? So this could
yes,
explain him being a green seer is definitely possible because this could explain how he gets information. He controls the rats. He can see through the weirwood. So like he tells
mhm,
Alicent about the moon tea, for example. Like he knew of Alicent and Rhaenyra's conversation earlier in episode 4, and it is possible that he saw this through the weirwood in the godswood, you know, uh, because Rhaenyra in that moment she like swears on her mother's memory that she's still like a maiden. To Alicent as like lying in front of a weirwood is like really bad. And you know,
yeah. It's
maybe
not
Larry's
seen
caught
to
that.
be quite an honest thing.
I can see Larry's being a green seer, being a ward or whatever, a shapeshifter, whatever people call him,
Yes.
because he has the blood of the first man. He is a bit of a weird guy, to say the least, and he
Mm.
seems to be like really. out of the
It's a
world.
really interesting theory. Although I think that is doing the character a bit, basically not giving him the credit that he deserves on his own because Larys is quite a clever guy. I mean,
Yeah,
for him to be able to get into such a high position and for that to be, it's not to say that it's undone fully. It's just that then it could have been basically. I feel like you are lowering the effect of what he does by just saying, "Oh yeah, this guy had powers. That's why he got so high." Like you are basically making him seem like way less of an interesting character than he actually is. Because
yeah.
it's interesting when you see somebody achieve something with
There
their
was
own capabilities, and
instead of using magic.
and when you put something like magic in it, I feel like it's kind of doing the character dirty. Now
Yeah,
now, of course, there are characters where this works. I mean, I'm not just saying that. Like Helena being a ward of Greens here, it makes perfect sense. Now, and Larry's could also work if they do it right, if they handle it correctly. It could be perfect, but I'm worried to say the least.
yeah. Helena makes a lot of sense because she actually has like prophecy moments. Like she has moments where she talks. There's a beast beneath the boards, or he will have to close an eye for it. Like when he says it about Aemon, and then that becomes true. Like yeah, Helena, she has visions, 100%, and that happens. But Larys, even if he's a Green Seer, this theory like he's trying to save King's Landing by causing a war in the first place because he saw a vision of Targaryens burning down King's Landing. Yeah, that makes it's actually batshit insane, as you said. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, look. The thing with him is that if Larry really wants to get rid of the dragons, he would get rid of them in a more clever way. Like if the
Poison them.
Grandmaster conspiracy was a thing, he would have started cooperating with the Grandmasters.
Yeah, that's a tier. Like
Maybe he is.
yeah, yes. I don't know. Definitely the batshit insane. But don't worry, it gets even worse than this. Like later on, I have a tier that gets even
I
crazier than this.
I know that it gets worse, and I'm scared
Okay.
for it actually.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah.
So let's calm down for now. Let's go on a simpler theory, like a side of the iceberg where there is a bit of light. So Daemon, the theory is like Daemon has grayscale. The proof behind this theory is that in episode 3, Daemon gets covered in the blood of the crab feeder, and the crab feeder in the book it does not have grayscale. That's not mentioned, but in the show it does have grayscale, and Daemon gets
Mm,
covered in his blood, so he gets infected. Now, because
yep.
he's a Targaryen, grayscale starts to a very slow process in him because Targaryens
Mm.
they don't get sick.
Yeah. They are quite resistant to diseases.
Yeah, and so Daemon has like a very good, strong body. He gets very slowly sick, very slowly. But this is supposed to explain why Daemon is so uh, why he really wants to go to war in episode 10 because he has grayscale, he's slowly dying, and he doesn't want to die as a man who has been forgotten by history in Dragonstone. He wants to die as a dragon slayer, as a king of Westeros, even if he's king consort. He wants to go to war against the Team Green because he has very very limited time. He's about to die, and because of this he really wants to go to war and take the Iron Throne before he dies, before like his time is up. And this is also supposed to explain why he goes on a suicide mission against Aemond. Because in that
Mm,
moment, Daemon is already dying. So Grayscale is slowly killing him and he's losing his mind. So he's like, you know what? Before I die, I will do one last great thing. I will go out my way, the way I want. I'll live the way I want. I'll die the way I
yes.
want. And so the grayscale theory is supposed to explain his self-destructive tendencies, why he wants to go to war so badly, why he wants to fight so badly.
Yes.
Because he's a man with nothing to lose. Like that's supposed to explain it. Uh,
Yep. I think it's a really interesting theory though.
yeah, and
Okay.
there is a moment like so Rhaenyra gives birth in episode 10 to a stillborn baby, and the baby has scales. Now that could be because Targaryen children, babies, stillborns are supposed to have some scales. There are scenes in the books where Daenerys is told that her baby had wings and a tail. It looks like a dragon, though she doesn't see it for herself, so we don't know if that's true. But it could also be that the baby had scales because Daemon himself has dragon scale.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, gray scale. I confused myself. He has grayscale, and that's why the baby. Yeah, so it was like it was a behind the scenes photo that showed like the baby having
Yes,
scales, you know. So
yes, I know.
yeah, so I don't know what you think about
It's
this.
a yeah. I mean, it's an interesting theory. Although now the real question would be, how did he get grayscale?
He covered himself in the blood of the crab feeder in episode 3, right?
Ah,
Yeah,
yes,
he killed the
yes,
crab
yes.
feeder. Like again, in the book, the crab feeder does not have grayscale, but in the show, he does. And like he killed the crab feeder, he
Mm,
covered himself in his blood at the end of the episode, and that's how he got it.
that's actually a really interesting theory. But I do not. But as far as I know, there is no such thing as blood transmission when it comes to grayscale.
There isn't.
But hey, you never know. Yeah, as far as I know, at least. But hey, I mean, George hasn't been too clear with this thing, so yeah,
He's never
maybe
been
he
too
could
clear
have
with
given
anything.
us. Yeah, I mean, George is George. What do you expect?
What do you expect?
I mean, it's
Uh,
it's just it's just George being George. You just gotta get used to it.
the thing about grayscale is that it's a very weird disease. Like it's supposed to affect people in a matter of months or years. Damon has like had it for at least 15 years or something by now,
Yes.
and he's like fine. He's a Targaryen, yes, but you have to wonder if it's true that he has grayscale. Then why don't Bela, Rhaena, Aegon, Viserys have something about that? Why did only Visenya have something?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It's a really, really interesting thing, man. It's a really, really nice.
Yeah,
It would be interesting. I mean, to see that Damon got grayscale, but I mean, the thing is that we do not get any sign of it in the show. Like at least, like I'm thinking that the show writers would have given us at least a small sign, like the same way that they did with Jorah. I remember in the books. I
yeah,
mean, in the show, excuse me, with Jorah, how he got grayscale and was just looking at his arm, he just noticed it a bit, and then he just, yeah, basically just give us some sort of a foreshadowing as
a
to
foreshadowing.
what
Yeah.
may be coming.
And there's also like the fact that if he really had grayscale, how did he like do the deed with Lena and Rhaenyra? You know, 'Cause how did they not get it?
Yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
definitely not.
yeah.
It sounds cool when you think about it. Oh, Daemon has grayscale. He's running out of time. He's going to die. That's why he has to like do something important before he dies, leave his mark on history. But then
Mhm,
you start to think about it, and I'm like, not makes much sense. No, not really. So this one is
mhm.
devoid of logic much, but it sounds cool.
It's
Okay,
interesting. It's
yeah,
interesting,
let's
but
go
not
with
to
the
say
next
that I
theory.
agree with it. Yep.
Mysaria. So Mysaria is Melisandre actually. So this is the
Ah.
funniest theory. Yeah.
Uh.
So okay, so what do Mysaria and Melisandre have in common? One,
Um.
they were both slaves when they were younger.
Uh.
They were
Yes.
slaves from the east that came to Westeros and stuff. So that's what they
Yes.
have in common.
Mm.
And that's about it.
Yeah. Like one comes from a shy, the other comes from lease.
Yes. I mean, maybe Mysaria went back to Ashai. Like she went to
And
Ashai.
plus, and plus, in the shows, they aren't lookalikes. They do not look like each other in no way, shape, or form. I mean, maybe if they had casted an actress which kind of looked like Melisandre, then I could say that. Or hell, they could have even casted the actress who played Melisandre herself, and that could have also worked.
Yeah, but I think the actress is a bit too old right now for that. But
Well, I mean, look, the actress may be old, but technology can do many things, my
yeah,
man.
yes. Like, so the problem with this theory is like, Mysaria. So in the book, something happens with Mysaria. Mysaria actually gets pregnant with Daemon's child. Like she actually does.
Hmm.
And then Viserys,
Now that
yeah,
I didn't know.
Viserys exiles her. He sends her away because he doesn't want to deal with the Targaryen bastard or anything. And
Hmm.
it is said in a line in the book where Mysaria apparently disappears and the baby, like something happens. It's weird. She disappears. It is thought that she's dead, and then Damon gets
Hmm.
very angry about it because he's like, "My unborn son died" or whatever. Like Damon is obviously angry about it.
Of
But
course.
yeah, she disappears in a very weird way, and
Hmm.
that is believed that after she disappears, she actually goes to Ashai, and then that's when she becomes Melisandre because she studies the dark arts, the shadow binding, the Lord of Light, and that's how she becomes Melisandre. And we know that Melisandre in the show is like 200 years old or something, or 400, something like that.
Yes.
So definitely, it'd actually be super fun if Melisandre showed up in House of the Dragon season 2 or 3.
It
Like
has
think
some
about it.
credence.
Because she's like 400. Like, she's we see her that she is like immortal as long as she has that necklace or whatever. So
Yep.
if she was to
It's
show up,
it's
it'd be
uh,
if she
I
was to
don't know
show up,
what to say.
it'd be great. And the
Yes.
interesting thing is House of the Dragon, like magic is tied to dragons. Right now,
Hmm.
magic should be very powerful in this timeline because there are so
Yes.
many dragons alive. But like we don't see any magic in the show, so uh,
Yeah. 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 It's you have to get I think we'll get a lot more dragons though in the future.
I hope we'll get more magic because season one of Hot D felt very similar to Game of Thrones season one, where like it's all
Uh.
about the dynasty, the who's going to be king, the succession
Yes.
crisis, and you don't see like the magical side. You don't see you do get the prophecy, yes, you do get the prophecy, you do get
Hmm.
some visions from Helena, but you don't see like the magical side of the world. That magic
Yes.
does actually exist here, even though people don't believe in it.
Yep.
So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I mean, it does make sense though. They are trying to set things up. They are not.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to go too deep in your first season.
Yeah, yeah. There is a limit as to how much you can put in without audiences losing interest.
Yeah, because it's easy for us. Like I remember that scene in episode.
Because the problem with, and
Go
I'm
on,
sorry for interrupting you
go
this,
on, go
but
on.
modern audiences are very lacking in their time in their attention span. Like,
You're gonna blame TikTok for that, man. That's not.
yeah, yeah. In any case, if anybody has any thoughts on this, feel free to put them in the comments.
Yeah,
I'm up for discussion.
call us out for being a
But the thing
bigot.
but the thing is that it's true though. The attention span of the modern viewer is just degenerate. It's just falling off. It fell off for real, no cap on God.
Yeah,
And this is me being a zoomer. Done with this now. I'm not making any more zoomer jokes. I apologize. I myself am a zoomer, so yeah.
yeah. You can make fun of yourself, but yeah, you know,
Yeah, basically my point is that one of the reasons, at least I suspect, that they didn't make the first season as long as they did was because of the audiences, and they knew that the audience would lose their attention.
yeah, like that's why we. It's funny we complain about the show going too fast, like having like a very fast pace, but then like the show was trending on TikTok, so they definitely did something right there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was some logic to the madness, as they say.
Yeah, even though the show went definitely very fast, like it's very hard
Yeah.
nowadays to have a like imagine something like for example the first Lord of the Rings movie was like it's very slow, like you have to be introduced to the
3 hours.
character. Yeah, it's like 3 hours. Can you imagine someone actually sitting down watching the Lord of the Rings movie without checking their phone every 5 seconds? Like, can you imagine someone doing
Yeah,
that nowadays?
that's why every time you sit down to watch a movie, you should probably just put your phone in another room and watch the show and watch
Yeah,
the movie or show, whatever you are watching at the moment, and focus fully on that, because multitasking does sometimes damage your attention span.
it really does. But yeah, as a
But yeah,
tier list,
back to the theories.
Mysaria and
Excuse us
Melisandre
if we went to this
don't
tangent.
don't make much sense. Yeah, it's a tier. Like fans come up with all of the shit, and you're about to see the craziest theory of today.
Hmm.
I hope you're ready, but this one definitely not true. Like the first two theories had some logic behind them. Aemond and Helena, Alicent and Daemon having an affair. There's even like
I
a line,
cannot see Mysaria
Melisandre.
as Melisandre. I apologize. They're both from the east, yes, but
They
in the
were
end of the
both
day,
Glace's children.
in the end of the day, as Peter Bailey says, we all came from somewhere in the show. Where they
We
we
all
all
came from
came from
somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Uh,
Peter Baelish.
Basically, they confront Baelish in the show about his Braavosi descendancy, and he says, "Well, yeah, we all come from somewhere."
And he's right because a lot of people in the Vale are of Andal origins, and the Andals like came from the sea to
Yep,
the Vale.
yep, yep, yep. The Endos came from Essos
Yeah,
in in territories which are nowadays conquered by ruled by the city of Pentos and Nor and Bravos.
The Endon invasion is actually a very interesting like invasion,
Mm.
and the religion that they brought was also very powerful in Westeros. Like
Hmm.
very very interesting.
It was referencing the Roman Catholic Church, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but the funny thing about George R. R. Martin's theories, like he himself put some of these theories in the book. Like Mushroom, like the court jester. He's like, oh, this guy, like Daemon, he had sex with Alicent, and then Alicent, like she also had sex with the dying King Jaehaerys, and then like Viserys
Hmm.
before she married. Like he threw around all of scandals. Like he would only throw around scandals and theories and self inserts and all of that stuff in the book. Like Mushroom was the most unreliable narrator in the book.
Yes.
But that's the thing, like George R. R. Martin was making fun of these fan theories. Oh yeah, this guy had with that guy and he had an affair with that. Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
I think yeah, George was quite clever when he did that, I would say. Bravo,
yeah.
George.
And like there is a line in the book where like Mushroom is like, yeah, Alicent and Damon had an affair. Damon deflowered Alicent, and that's why Otto hates Damon. And like, yeah, nice theory, bro. Yes. And then
Yeah.
we actually say this in the show. Like we actually think this is true. Okay, like,
Mm.
hope you're ready for the craziest theory ever.
Yep.
This is it, man.
Give it a shot. Let's give it a shot.
Daemon Targaryen is the Night King.
What?
So
I'm
Daemon
sorry.
Targaryen. So okay, here's the proof. First of all, Daemon Targaryen and the Night King dress in a very similar way. They
Ugh.
both use a lot of armor. Like they dress in a very similar way. Uh, Number two, the Night King is a dragon rider. We see in season
Yes.
8, the Night King can ride a dragon. So
Yes, of
dragons are
course.
not unique. He knows about dragons. They're not new to him. He knows how to ride one. He must be a Targaryen. Obviously.
Uh-huh.
Everyone is a Targaryen these days, man. Everyone can be a Targaryen these days. And
Yep.
then number three is that Daemon's body was never recovered after the Battle of the God's Eye. So his body was never found, and people think that he survived. He traveled north because of the prophecy, like to see the coming darkness to fight on his own or something.
Yes.
And then he became the Night King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like
Don't question.
yeah, and then he's like, you know what? Fuck everything. I'm just going to destroy Westeros, and then I'm going to sit the Iron Throne. Like Daemon wants to go back to sit the Iron Throne himself.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Uh,
No,
were I to say something, I would have. I don't want to say anything.
you can say how
I'm not.
stupid this is. But it's fine.
It is stupid. It is beyond words how stupid this theory is. But
Yeah.
oh, I will keep that. I'll try not to say anything about that. I'll try
This
to
is the
be.
craziest theory I've ever heard in my life. Daemon
Yes.
Targaryen and the Night King. Like,
Yes. Look. If Daemon Targaryen is the Night King, then Hot Pie is the son of Ares the second.
no, Hot
No,
Pie
no,
is the
no, no.
Shrouded Lord,
No. Hot Pie is actually yeah, he is a Shard Lord, but he's also
the Targaryen.
he's also no. He's a Blackfire.
He's a
Yes.
Blackfire. Why not, man? He's a
Yes.
Blackfire.
It makes sense. I mean, makes sense. I mean, why not?
And Cersei and Jamin are also Targaryens. Like everyone can become a Targaryen these days, man. All you need is
Yep.
like
I feel like I feel like that's part of that's part of the fan base itself. Like part of the at least it's our fault as the fan base as fans that that the situation becomes so, so bad that we think everyone is a Targaryen. Like Targaryens cannot pop out of everywhere. The reason why the Targaryens are so interesting in the books is because there are so few of them left.
yeah, but that's the thing. They do pop out of nowhere. Like at first, you're told that Viserys and Daenerys are the last two Targaryens, and then Viserys dies and Daenerys is the last Targaryen, and then you see, oh, Jon Snow is also Targaryen. Oh, and Blood Raven is also Targaryen. Oh, and hold on a minute, there is also this guy, young Griff, who's like coming to conquer Westeros, and he's like Aegon Targaryen. Like they do pop out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like George has this thing about, and maybe young Griff is a Blackfire, but Targaryen is a Targaryen. It's the same. That's
Yes. I agree with. I see the logic in that, but I still think there should be a limit. There should be some logic to this madness of George. I'm sure of it.
Daemon Targaryen. I don't know, man. The craziest theory I've ever heard in my life. There's this guy, YouTuber called Glidus. He made a video that was a joke, an April's Fool
Uh
joke,
huh.
where he said
Yep.
that Rhaegar Targaryen is the Night King. And he was like making fun
Yes.
of it. Like it was a joke. It was just a joke as a video. But then the internet does one even better. Daemon Targaryen is the Night King. Like they surpass him. You know, like you
Of
think you're good at
course.
something, but then the internet beats you at it. Like the internet beats you. You can't you can't do it, man. It's
Yeah, you
insane.
cannot. It's just uh
But yeah, I mean, the first two theories, because George, you know, his books are all about unfaithfulness, people having an affair behind the scenes in secret. So the
yep.
first theory makes sense, Aemon and Helena having an affair, because Aegon is a
Mhm.
shithead and Aemon seems to like Helena at least. I don't know what's set up with them. We
Mm.
get so very few scenes between them. We just get scenes where they're close or something, but that's it. We don't see anything between them.
Yep. Yep.
And then
Yep.
Alicent and Daemon also doesn't make much sense, but it's in the book. It's a theory of the book. Mushroom
When
says it in the book.
when has the Game of Thrones fan base ever cared about sense?
Yeah,
I'm
obviously.
sorry, but
What?
when have we ever cared about sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
I'm
man.
just joking around with this, but yeah, DC, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I mean it's Daemon Targaryen as the Night King. I couldn't have thought of that in a million years.
Actually, I would have never thought of it myself. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes when I was reading the
I
theory.
mean, why would he say screw over Westeros? Why would he not?
Why not?
Why would
Why
he
not?
not seize the chance to take power? I mean, he's a man who truly loves to, who would love to be king, and why not be king as a normal human being and not as a zombie?
Yeah,
Uh, I
the
mean,
irony. Like, if ever George like releases alternate universes, imagine a universe where like the Night King wins, and then he goes and sits himself on the Iron Throne. That would be a
I
very
could
powerful image.
I could imagine that, but I do not think so. You know
Alternate
what would be a
universe.
really powerful image? Peter Baelish sitting on the Iron Throne.
No, the one who deserves it.
And the sheer dedication, the sheer will of that man to take power. I think that if anyone gets the throne, it should be Peter in the end.
But
Of course,
George,
only for a temporary amount of time, of course. So that
yeah, but
because I didn't think that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
no, no. So like George has this thing in his books where he writes endings that reflect the character's choices.
Yeah.
Often characters who are very ambitious or greedy or very selfish, that do a lot of bad things, get very bad endings to them. Because George is like,
Mm,
so for example, Jamie, he's proud of his skill in combat. He's very a
yep.
bit arrogant and selfish,
He gets
and then he
his
loses
arm
his hand.
chopped
Yeah,
off.
and then he loses his hand, like which is his big strength because he can no longer
Yep.
now be a knight. So like
Hmm.
George challenges characters in a very interesting way, and characters
Hmm.
who do evil things often die a horrible death
Yes.
because of these actions.
Yep.
Because of dishonorable actions. Let me give you an example. So spoiler for the end of House of the Dragon, like the book Far and Blood. The show might change the ending, but whatever.
Hmm.
So in episode one of House of the Dragon, we see Jason Lannister, Hobart Hightower, and a Baratheon swear their loyalty to Rhaenyra, like they swear an oath, to Rhaenyra.
Yep.
Now, all of these houses, the Lannisters, the Hightowers, and the Baratheons, will betray this oath. They will betray Rhaenyra's side and will join the Greens. All of
Yep.
these three men, the Baratheons, Jason Lannister, and Hobart Hightower, are killed during the war. Like all of
Hmm.
them die. On the
Yep.
other side, we have the Blacks that are supported by the Arryns, Lady Jane Arryn, Kragan Stark, and Kermit Tully.
Yep.
All of these men, they kept their oaths. Like Kragan Stark, he kept his father's oath. Lady Jane
Yep.
Arryn kept her oath, and Kermit Tully also kept his oath to Rhaenyra. All of them
Yep.
survived the war. So
Hmm.
on one side, all of the people who broke their oath die, and on the other side, all of the people who kept their oath survive.
Hmm.
Uh, like this is the way George tends to write ending for his characters. At least at the very end, like the characters who do
Hmm.
dishonorable acts often die because of their own choices and actions.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't think
I
that Baelish will ever become king because he does do a lot of bad things, and George would not want to reward a character like that. I don't think George would do that.
I would love to see. No, I would not. When I say Peter become king, I mean Peter becoming king only for a temporary amount of time. Of course, Peter cannot be a king for eternal periods of time. Of course, I mean That would be. I know that, like, as much as I love Peter Baelish, I know that that is undoable for him. In any case,
Yeah.
what I say by him getting power, I would love to see him get power, and then the White Walkers return, and then
Yeah.
he's kicked off of his throne, and he dies in a glorious way, in a way befitting of his character, not like he died
Not
in
like
the show.
seasons.
Yeah,
Yes,
I know, it's depressing to think of it. It's just that
yeah, I
it's a
shouldn't.
shame. It's a shame, really. In any case, I mean, these are theories.
It's
These
not.
are
Yeah,
not
but like
supposed to
it's
be
not our
realistic.
fault for talking about theories, because it's George's fault for not releasing the fucking book. It's a fault.
Yes, yes, George, George, if you're hearing this, and I know that you're not, pick it up,
Easily.
boy. Pick it up,
Yeah,
boy. You got some writing to do.
yeah, no, he's got some eating to do. That sounds better for him. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
definitely.
not to say that George is lazy, because I know that he's reading some very good
Yeah,
books.
yeah.
Like, I mean, his sheer work has goes to show. I mean, he's a great writer. It's just that he's not the best at
Not the
working at
fastest.
writing in time. Yeah, not the fastest.
Uh,
No.
but yeah, okay, let's try to end this on a positive note. Like
Yep. 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 Yep.
what are
Let's
your
try to be positive.
most positive aspects for the show House of the Dragon, and
Oh man.
looking forward towards the Game of Thrones fan base. As I said earlier to you, I told you earlier, there's going to be a panel in the following months where Kit Harington, the actor that plays Jon Snow, will show up. And it is heavily implied that the series called Snow, a sequel to season 8 of Game of
Oh.
Thrones, will be announced on that panel. So,
Oh. I'm gonna get a headache. I'm
oh,
gonna get a headache. In
uh,
any way. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the show, really, I really, really like it, actually.
yeah,
Even though I may come off as if I'm critiquing the show, I do really, really like it, actually. It's a very good show. It has a lot of potential. I love the characters. I love the intrigue. It reminds me of season 1 of Game of Thrones, which I would say is like, it's my second favorite, I would say, after season 4.
yeah. Like I had my issues with House of the Dragon. I made a
Yeah.
video about how they ruined Alicent Hightower for me in episode 9.
Yes.
Episode 9 was not horrible, but it was the least good episode in all of the show,
Yeah.
in the entire show. And it really
Yep.
felt like they took a lot of agency and responsibility away from Alicent, and they
Hmm.
blamed her father for everything. And
Yep.
the men are
Boo
bad. Like
hoo.
she's good. The men are bad. Uh,
Yeah, I
Aegon is.
mean, I think that they could have done her a lot better than they did her in the show. Like, a lot of the characters are done in not so good way, I think.
But overall, despite everything, I'm very optimistic. Looking forward to. I'm a little worried because episode 9 could be a red flag. Uh,
Hmm.
a warning of what could come next. But despite this, as
Yes.
long as George is involved in the show, I am optimistic that season 2 and 3 will deliver. Especially because like season 1 was like the whole uh, explaining the backstory. Like the writers saw it as a bit of a chore. They wanted to get through it, but now that they're done with it, they can finally like get with the war, get with the
Yep.
real story.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
hopefully
definitely.
they deliver there, and I have my hopes up, but also a little bit worried.
Never lose hope. Hope is the thing which dies
Yeah,
last.
I don't
It
know.
goes
I
a
actually want
saying.
your opinion on this because I seen a lot of people online, even other like famous Game of Thrones YouTubers, call this out.
Hmm.
House of the Dragon had too many accidents in it, and it felt like the writers were trying to take responsibility away from the characters. To
Yes.
pacify them, to make them more
Yes.
likable. Like
Yes. Finally, somebody understands it.
yes, like Alicent, Viserys telling Alicent about the prophecy. Alicent thinks it's about Aegon, her son. That's an accident. Aemond killing Luke is also an accident. Luke taking out Aemond's eye was also an accident because he was acting in the rash of the moment. Like
Yeah, I think
everything
that.
is an everything becomes an accident, man. Like, oh, if we just sit down and talk about our differences, we'll solve this out. No, hold on a minute. That's not how conflicts work.
Yep.
So
Yep.
what do you think about
I
that?
No, no. There's definitely some credence to that. That the characters are quite lacking in their own agency. Like,
Yeah,
they are just.
too many.
I feel like a lot of the characters are done dirty in the show, basically.
Well, you could say that maybe the showrunners had no choice because I don't think that current audiences are ready for actually great characters. Like, let's take Daemon Targaryen for example. A lot of people have like this fantasy about Daemon, where Daemon is like a good guy or a noble hero or something, and then they see the scene where he chokes Rhaenyra, and are like, but that's so out of character for him. They
It
ruined
is.
Daemon. The show writers ruined Daemon. I'm like, no, hold on, guys. Damon is not exactly a good guy. Hold on, that's not like they ruined him. He's very emotional in that scene. He's very angry, and he takes it out on Rhaenyra in that moment. But like, you know, Damon would do something like that when he's like in a very emotional moment. Damon is not some noble knight. Like people overreact on Twitter, they overreact on TikTok, they ruin the character. Oh my God, Damon would never hurt Rhaenyra. Yeah,
I think that they do make a good point though, because Damon, even though Damon is really emotional, I do not think it makes sense for Damon to do that. Like Damon still likes his niece. He still loves her.
yeah, but like in that moment, so the showrunners, like I was watching behind the scenes interviews, and apparently the director told Matt Smith in that moment, "You're not hurting Rhaenyra, you're hurting Viserys. Hurt Viserys, Like imagine you're hurting Viserys because in that moment he's angry to Viserys, Like yeah, Damon didn't get a nice treatment on the show. He's mostly a villain because the writers don't like him. I, the writers literally say, "I don't understand why people like Damon." Like they said that shit. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
don't know. I mean,
yeah,
maybe the choice for writer is not the best.
I really hate it when writers are like biased towards the characters in the
No,
show.
I mean, look. Biases. There's always going to be biases. The good. The thing is that you have to basically you have to set your biases aside, or at least try to.
Yeah, because it's clear, for example, that they're very biased with Allison. Like they threw everything at her character to make her more likable and more sympathetic, but they weren't willing to do the same with Aegon or Otto, for example. In fact, Otto and Aegon are much worse than in the book. They're way more evil, and I complained about that because I don't like that. I don't think that's fair to give a character special treatment and then make the others worse. I don't think that's fair. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's not too fair.
I am
In any case,
optimistic about the show.
yep, me too. I have hopes for the future, but I also have worries. Like I'm cautiously
Yeah,
optimistic.
so
I'm cautiously optimistic of the show.
cautiously optimistic. It's better though than not being optimistic at all because
Yes,
today's shows are very fucking shit, man. What happened?
true, true.
Like
That
we
is
had
that is.
four medieval fantasies in 2022:
Uh huh.
Willow, The Witcher Blood Origins, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon. Out of
Yep.
these, only one was good. The other three were not bad. They were shit. They were actually pure shit. Like what happened?
True. That is just no
So for all
denying.
its flaws, Hot D
House
is
of the Dragon is better. It's better than the average
20
show of
times,
the
30
the,
times
the
better.
year.
30 times, like it's
Like
insane.
when you compare it to the shows that we had prior to it in the year, uh, it's better. But that doesn't mean that we should be content with its current form.
Yeah, it could always. Yeah, there are
It could.
small problems, small details that could have been fixed.
Yes, which is why I have hope.
And you can see a bit of our modern cultural influence in this show,
Yeah, I mean,
like people calling Rhaenyra a feminist.
any
Oh,
feminist. Oh man, it's so tiresome. Really, like it's just tiresome because every day it's the same talking points.
yeah.
And in any case, uh,
Thank you for watching,
let's not
everyone.
let's not get too deep into this because we do not want Susan
Yeah,
to make us commit suicide, of course.
of course. Like we're talking about crazy theories here. So overall, like the first two theories about Aemond and Helena, it makes sense. It's possible.
Hmm.
Alicent and Daemon maybe had an affair, but not really. Maybe.
It didn't go as far as them having kids.
Yeah, definitely. And if they did, they probably like hate each other for it or something. Uh, maybe. The other theories with Larys being a green seer, Daemon being the Night King, that makes me my brain
Damon
blow. Like
Damon being green. I mean, Larry's being green here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
yeah,
do not agree with it necessarily, but it does make sense. But Damon being the Night King, just I want to find the person who made that, and I just want to. Murder him. Kill him.
Like, yeah, Larys being a green seer actually makes sense as a theory because he is as the blood of the first man and all.
Uh
But him
huh.
being a green seer who is trying to save Westeros from dragons because he saw a vision of the future where dragons would destroy King's Landing, that's like, oh man, like wow, that's like the worst fucking theory ever. Like I actually,
No,
yeah.
it's not. It's not bad. It's just
Yeah,
mentally deranged.
yeah, but you know that's like the fun about these tears. Like when you hear these tears, like you go, "I thought the world could not get any worse, but it has." Yes,
Yes,
this
it
is it, man.
has
This is
really.
madness, madness
Things
and
have
stupidity.
yes, in the words
No,
of
it's fun though.
Tywin.
Like again,
It's
it's not the fans' fault for coming up with crazy tears, and it's actually a lot of fun to hear about them. Uh, if I had
yes.
like another one like imagine telling to one of your friends who reads Game of Thrones or watches the show, but is not a very online person, hey, there's a tier out there that Daemon is the Night King. Imagine like their reaction, like what the hell are you talking?
What the? How much meth did you take today?
Yeah, they did it, man. The internet always wins. I'm telling you, always.
Yes,
So
yes, 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 yes. It's
overall,
a
it was
sad
also fun.
reality.
Yeah, it was also
Yep.
fun to talk about these theories.
Mm, I'm glad that I was here to help you, even though all I did was just, even though I did was just react to the shitty theories you
Same.
got here.
I mean, you should have seen my reaction when I was researching this stuff, man. Like,
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, recently I hadn't taken too deep of a look into Game of Thrones anymore. Like I do like Game of Thrones. It's just that I didn't take too deep of a look.
yeah, but you know,
So
it's all right. We'll have to wait like a year for season two to come out. In the
yes.
meantime, I guess we'll have to.
In the meantime, George should finish the books. Let's
Uh,
hope so. I
for
mean, I mean, I would hope that by the time that I'm dead, at least the books will be finished.
what you see, you don't understand. He made a deal with the devil. If he doesn't finish the book, you'll be immortal forever. You know, like.
Yes, yes, yes. Martin, George is purposefully doing this to torture us too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like overall, to another positive one. On a positive note, if you guys haven't watched House of the Dragon, go watch it. And if you have watched it, go rewatch it because, like, when I
Yes.
was rewatching some of the scenes, I was like actually really enjoying the dialogue a lot. Like,
There's not only that, but just that you learn new things about
yeah,
the characters, about everything. If you rewatch the show.
yeah. Like for example, I was rewatching the scene with the dinner, like with Viserys and the dinner in episode 8, and like
Mm-hmm.
you have small looks like Aemond, Aegon, like they look to Helena, then they look to Alicent, then they look to Otto and stuff like. The characters in that scene don't express themselves through dialogue, but through quick shots and movements. You know, like the way things go. It's all very
Yep.
quiet. There's not a lot of dialogue, but it's a very well directed scene because of how the
Mm-hmm.
characters interact in that moment.
Yep.
Uh, it's actually a
In
very
any
well made.
case, in
Anyway,
any
case
case,
this is the end of
yep.
the video, guys. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a nice
I
day.
was. Yeah, you too, guys. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.